the armed forces joining the people, this is going to encourage a lot of other people to a lot of other armed forces, because this is a big taboo that is now broken. So it's now going to normalize. Like, hopefully, we're going to see other armed forces in Iran noticing that some other people are joining the people. Some other armed forces in Iran are joining the people, and they might get encouraged to do the same. This might be the beginning of the end if it keeps happening, because this is how revolutions eventually become successful. When the number of people gets to a point where a big portion of the armed forces decide that this is not, there's no point in fighting against it anymore. That's how you get to the point where the revolution is successful, when more armed forces join the people. So this is, I hope this is just a beginning, but we'll see. Yeah, but guys, feel free to open your mic if you guys have any questions. Or also, by the way, another thing I saw, which confirms my concerns regarding Trump, and you guys could tell me why I'm wrong regarding what his plans for in Iran are, is the fact. Did you guys hear why Trump actually put aside Machado? Because some people were telling me like, "Oh, I mean, it's okay. He's probably just trying to protect her. It's not the right time." And I was like, "Oh, okay, you're right, you're right. Like, maybe like we first have to provide stability so that we could have elections in Venezuela." But apparently, apparently, the reason why Trump brushed aside Machado was because even though she basically gave off she received the Nobel Peace Prize, and she said that what is it called when you actually offer it to someone else? Dedicated. She dedicated it to Trump, right? Even though like you would assume that's something that Trump would like, right? But apparently Trump was pissed off at Machado because she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize to begin with. So apparently, Trump doesn't like Machado because he expected Machado to just not accept the Nobel Peace Prize, and it wasn't enough that she accepted it and then dedicated it to Trump. That was not good enough for Trump, and that's why he doesn't like her, and that's why he's dismissing her. So
What's the source?
let me actually bring it, because I was. It's pretty good source, unfortunately. Let me actually go bring it up.
Did anybody watch Trigonometry? They had a conversation about Venezuela.
Can you give us a summary?
Well, okay, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Trigonometry, but Francis Foster is his mother is Venezuelan and he has loads of family there. So what they were saying, I recommend watching it because it was really good. It was about 55 minutes. It was on yesterday. And it was more, they want, so basically, Delcy Rodriguez, who is just as much of a scumbag as Maduro is, apparently Maduro's, this is interesting, I did not know this, but Maduro's wife is actually more horrible and evil than Maduro. Like, people are actually really happy that they arrested her
Celia
almost more
Flores,
than
yeah.
Maduro. What?
Celia Flores, that's her name. Yeah,
Yeah,
the wife
thank
of
you.
Maduro.
But apparently she, she takes great joy in torturing people. Really, truly horrible person. And Maduro
What?
apparently, huh?
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Maduro, he used to be like a bus driver, and the only reason Chavez sort of basically said, "Yeah, I want this guy to be," because he was ill, he had cancer, and he said he wanted him to take his place, and it's only because he's loyal. That's it. He's loyal to the communist, manifesto or whatever. He's loyal to their party. He's loyal to whatever they want to do. Basically, he'll go along with it. He'll go along with anything,
Right.
pretty much. That's the reason why. But so basically what they want is they want somebody right now who they can pretty much just tell what to do. I was right about this in the fact that the government, Maduro essentially has just a roving gang that
Wait,
enforces
who,
everything.
when you say they, who are you talking about? When you say they want, who's they?
America.
Okay, so the American, they want just somebody who's just going to roll over and just accept anything that America wants. That's what they
Yeah,
want.
because the thing is that, she can run to Russia. Those are her options. or she can stay in place and do what she's told.
Okay, so
And
this is
preferable to have somebody who's just going to do what they're told. That's what they were saying. I think but there's a lot more to
so
it, but
yeah, and Machado, I mean, she's obviously going to be beneficial for America, but she's a patriot that's going to do what's in the best interest of Venezuela first, right? And that's what Trump doesn't want. That is that correct?
I think right now, yes. I mean, what they were saying was that it's not going to be settled down for maybe a couple of years. They don't think it's going to be just sort of this overnight kind of thing. But, it's
So
still early days. But right now, the gangs that keep everybody in line, they're out there. All of those gangs are out there right now. They're roaming the streets. Everybody's at home. It's basically like lockdown pretty much. And they did point out that the people that were really celebrating, they're not in Caracas because they're in lockdown in Caracas. The people that were celebrating were all the people that are outside of Venezuela or the people that they were showing that were celebrating in the streets. But in Caracas, everybody is at home.
So before we go to Samantha, was there anybody other than Samantha? Did they raise their hand? Let me know. But I want to ask you one more thing before I move to Samantha. Oh, you did. Okay, so Tom also. I'm going to put Tom's name. But Neil, but can you do a normative analysis on this rather than just descriptive? Like, how do you judge? I'm frustrated with Trump right now. Am I? Is that justified in your opinion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I mean, the thing is that people are saying how the oil, it's their oil. Okay, well, that isn't 100% true. What happened was American companies discovered the oil. They drilled, they created the infrastructure and the platform to extract the oil. And they had an operation, and basically they marched in and they just took it from them. And no, you can't do that actually. That was a lot of money and it did belong to them. And yes, companies operate in other countries. That happens. It doesn't mean they're raping the country. It means they're operating in that country. And when you operate a country, have a company that's operating in that country, you employ people in that country, you pay taxes in that country. There are good things about your company coming and operating in your country. It's not just that they're extracting things and, the country isn't getting anything out of it.
The thing is, Machado was willing to work with American companies to make sure
Mhm,
that they are getting what they deserve as well. Like she
mhm.
was completely willing to work with America and to work with American companies. She copped everywhere she went. She was bragging about how much the future of Venezuela is going to also be good for America and American oil companies and everything. So yeah, I mean, what you're saying is true, and Machado would have acknowledges all of that. So it's really weird that they just like got rid of her. Like it's so unfair, I think, for
Well,
the
I mean,
transition.
I think that it right now, you have to understand that they took all they did was take out two people. Everybody's still
Yeah,
there. Gangs are
yeah, but they
there.
didn't have to, but they didn't but Trump didn't have to say something so negative about mature. Like, yeah, but all of that is true, but he didn't have to come and say like, oh, she's not that, what did he say
Popular
exactly?
and yeah, she wasn't that
Popular and she's
popular or something. But
yeah.
all the
But that's
is
Trump.
there
I mean,
Oliver,
he does
he's
that
like
kind of stuff all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
he does. And I mean, like I was saying before, it's just sort of unorthodox. Nobody really talks like Trump. He's like I said, he's kind of weird. But I mean, Oscar was pointing out that another guy actually he got a hell of a lot of votes too. I mean, so it isn't as if really it was in the bag for Machado. She did get a lot of votes. And I'll go back
70%.
to what I said before. I do think that they should have a free, fair, and safe election. And I don't believe that that can even happen right now because there are entirely too many people that are there that were part of the Maduro machine and they need to be found. And that's not going to be it's not like they're going to come out of the woodwork and go, "Hi, yeah, I'm a dirtbag, drug dealer, arrest me." They're not going to do that. They're going to be hiding, they're going to be running, they're going to be trying to
Right.
like sink into the woodwork and hope that they can lay low and no one's going to notice them and then they'll rise up and do something. it's a really dangerous time right now. They've taken out 2 people. There's so many people there that I
Yeah,
mean,
but
the Hezbollah is still there. Wait, you think they're gone? They're there. I mean, all of it is there. So
yeah, but what they could have done is saying like, okay, American troops are going to be present. You're like, well, I mean, whatever plans they have, and we're going to be talking to Machado. She's going to be advising us. She's going to be part of the leadership team. It's going to be Americans in partnership with Machado, and we're going to secure her. We're going to take care of her. We're going to bring her to a secure location and
that
make
looks
sure
like
that she's
propping
safe.
up president. That looks
I
like
don't.
propping up to me.
No, because she has been doing that herself for the past, I don't know how long. She has constantly been saying this. Like, she has been willing to, like, all the time that she's been fighting and risking her life, but the cost of people calling her an American puppet, she has accepted people calling her that. She has paid that price already, because every time she had an interview, she will come and brag about how good this is going to be for America, right? So if anybody was going to accuse her of being an American puppet, they would have already done so, because she has been marketing that all the time, that she's going to be good for America as well. But it's strange that all of this positive talk about America and American oil companies and America making a profit was not good enough, and they just threw her under the bus.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not
Yeah.
defending it at all. I'm just saying that he's really unorthodox and he says stuff off the cuff all the time. And who knows, maybe it was the thing about the Nobel Prize, which is, petty. And yes, he has been petty before. That is absolutely 100% true. I could definitely see how that could be something that
So,
would
and this,
drive
the source for this is the Washington Post, Time Magazine, NBC News, The New Republic, and Fox News. I don't know which one of these you
pretty
find
good.
credible, but these are the
Well,
people reporting that.
that's across the spectrum, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So he's being petty. All right. Yeah. He has been petty. That's for damn sure. But I mean, I do think it's probably better in the end is to, have a period where they root out everybody. I don't believe she's safe in that country with all of the people that are loyal to Maduro present. I honestly don't think that she would be safe there at all.
Okay, yeah,
The one
maybe
white
she could
dome.
just lead from outside. But anyways, I see like Tom, Samantha, and then Gary also raised his hand. Guys, if you're new here, if you need to raise your hand just to make sure I see it, just use this reaction button at the very bottom. But I already added you to the list. Okay, so let's go, Tom.
Sorry, was Samantha first? Was she
Oh,
first?
Samantha. Sorry, I didn't know. Samantha.
I posted a link in the chat earlier. I'm posting it again now, but Reza Pahlavi made an announcement. He has some like call to
Yep.
action and some like announcement on Twitter about further action.
Yeah. A million people messaged me about like my phone is exploding. With Armin, have you seen this? Yeah, by the way, this is the first time that he's very clear about, like, I don't know how do you say it in English? We call it the Farrakhan. Narabars, do you know what you call it? How do you translate?
Like a call to action?
Call to action. Okay, it's a call to action. And it's the most specific call to action he has ever done. So let me actually read it. So he says, I am sharing my first call to action, or Farhan, with you today, and I invite you to start chanting slogans this Thursday at Friday the 18th and 19th of Day. Day is a month of the DEY is a month on the Persian calendar. Simultaneously at 8 p.m., all of you, whether in the streets or even from your own homes, based on the feedback from this action, I will announce the next calls to you. Wow. Okay, so he's basically testing the Iranian people to see if they will respond to his call. And when he says based on the feedback from this action, means that if you don't show up, there will not be we don't like, I don't know if the next step is going to be good. So this is all now on the Iranian people, if they show up or not. We have been
No
constantly
pressure.
advertising. Hmm?
No pressure. No pressure at all.
Well, let me talk to you. I don't know if you watch my Persian show or not. Today on the Persian show, I told everybody in the oh, you do watch. I said anybody who doesn't show up into the streets is a traitor to the country. That's what I said. So yeah, no pressure at all.
I was there.
I was screaming at the camera. I was like, what else are you waiting for? I was telling them this is the least costly revolution that you could have ever asked for. I told them we're trying to get other content creators not to post pictures of the people who are dying, okay? Because the numbers of people dying is significantly lower compared to previous protests, previous waves of the revolution in Iran. And by just constantly showing the few who died, you're just going to scare people. And I was like, don't share that information. That information is for foreigners, for Iranian content creators. Yeah, go on.
I don't share those. I only share. So I don't know if you saw, but Middle East Matters account had a post, and they had 18 slides about all different chants. None of them mentioned Pahlavi, and I was so pissed off at that. And that's an account that has been posting about Israel and Gaza and all of that. They posted 18 slides, and none of them mentioned Pahlavi at all. None of the chants included the most popular chant, which is "This is the last battle, Pahlavi will return." None of it included that. So that's why I keep posting the videos where the people are chanting Pahlavi's name, so that a lot of my American friends that are following me know that this is actually happening. And I literally write it in the caption saying, this is what CNN will not show you. Like, this is what's happening. And don't let them
Right.
twist the narrative for the people that have no idea what's happening. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And my family,
And
I have family in Isfahan and I have family in Tehran. All of my friends that I know in there, they're all coming out.
you should tell everybody that you don't need to do the brave things that some other people do. This is how you get them out. If you're too scared to come and chant, just go out for a walk. Just by making the streets busy, you're making it more difficult for the anti-riot police to attack the people who are taking part in the protests. Just go for shopping, just go for a walk in the park. If you eventually become brave enough to join the chants and join the protest, do that. But if you're not, just go walk in, just make the streets look busy, make it more difficult to identify who's protesting, who's not protesting. And also, if you are really afraid, then just have a plastic bag and put some cucumbers and some tomatoes in it and just say, I was just going for shopping, just in case somebody stops you or something. But just make sure you're outside. That's what we're telling everyone. Samantha, sorry, I cut you as soon as, or like you were going to say other things. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is like pretty much any one who's involved in communist activism or any type of anti-capitalist action in the this is just totally off the radar that anything major is happening in Iran. Everyone's laser focused on Venezuela right now, and it's like most people have not even heard that there's protests in Iran. Some people are like, yeah, I kind of heard there's some protests, but I don't think it's major. It's people protesting.
That's why I had Seth Dillon on my show. I don't know if you guys saw, trying to convince him to talk about what's happening in Iran. The CEO of Babylon Bee.
The thing is, I don't know if it's necessarily even in the best interests of people, if they're more awareness or not. I want whatever best for people in Iran. But
can I say something about that? So I was very conflicted about that too. And everybody's saying, oh, where's Greta? Where's all these activists? And then in my head, I'm thinking, what's going to happen if they start talking about it? Obviously, they're not going to say what's actually happening. So they're actually going to make it worse if they open their mouth. So they're going to twist the narrative. They're going to say, oh, this is not happening, blah, blah, blah. They're just going to make it so much worse. And then a whole bunch of people are going to believe them. So I'm very happy that these people are keeping quiet, because I think that the main entities, like the government people, we have Israeli government people. I think the people that should be aware what's going on, they already know what's going on, plus the Iranian people.
All right, guys, sorry for Samantha, last point, because then we have to go to Tom and Gary. Gary has been waiting for a long time.
Last point is one Antifa group chat I'm in. They didn't mention that there's protests in Iran, and they only know about it because they follow MEK, and MEK supports it. And these are people who support MEK. So, yeah.
Okay, the MEK doesn't support these protests. They hate these protests. They're trying to misrepresent what's happening in the protests, because the protests are pro Pahlavi, and the MEK hates Pahlavi more than anything else. So, all right, so let's go to Tom. Tom, go ahead, and then we go to Gary, and then Narabars. All right, Tom.
Yeah, 1 second, I'm just to get my notes. Yeah, so with the Seth Dillon, the regime collapse, and Prince Reza Pahlavi, the show you did, he was talking about, smash and grab is the expression he used, not US invasion of Venezuela. So that's why they don't mind kind of Trump doesn't mind and America don't mind getting involved. But with Iran, that would be more involved. They'd have to send like loads of troops and they'd have to, or maybe, I don't know, I think that's what Seth was suggesting. And it was also interesting to see that Seth didn't see any violence that had happened in Iran yet when it has happened. And also, Seth thought that it was a majority Islamic country. And he was fascinated to find out that actually Iran isn't a majority Islamic extremist or Islamic country anymore. So I find it fascinating that he didn't understand that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because not that many people are following the details of politics in Iran. I was really grateful that he was so receptive and willing to listen and learn. He found it very educational. So I'm really grateful that he accepted to talk to me. And yeah, I'm hoping now, because he has a giant audience, I hope now he's encouraged to maybe use his audience to mention this, right? So let's go to Gary. Gary, sorry for the wait.
No, not at all. Can you hear me okay, Armin?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, it's very nice to see the faces of so many of you who I communicate with on Substack, and it's really a delight to join for the first time. I'm listening to what everybody is saying, and it's very motivating hearing all the different perspectives. I lived in Iran during the 1970s quite a bit. And so a lot of this is hitting very close to home because of people that I still know there, but also people here in the US who would like to be able to go back home. And I think, like what you were talking about with Venezuela, one of the things about the way neighborhoods are set up in Tehran and in Esfahan and Tabriz and other, you have your home, you have these walls around the home, so you can sort of hunker down in your home and at least feel somewhat secure when this type of chaos is beginning to unfold. It's very frightening for those of you who've never been in situations like this before. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East back between 72 and 79. These are not times where you feel like going out and, walking in Park Said, in Tehran or wherever. You just don't quite feel safe doing that. However, as you rightly pointed out, the Iranian people are the ones who will determine their destiny. Quite understand what was going on, what was beginning to unfold as his dad was getting sick. I have to tell you, this is going to be very organic. This is not going to be by anybody's playbook because of a lot of different factors. And I know everybody wants to see the people succeed. And there's a lot of different ways that this will play out. I do want you to be prepared for the fact that there is going to be some significant chaos in the next 48 to 72 hours, perhaps. And people need to understand that there's a lot going on below the surface right now. The border between northern Iraq and Iran is extremely porous, and there's a lot that's going on in that area right now. And you're beginning to see some support for the Lors as well as for the Kurds flowing over that border. There's going to be a tendency toward fragmentation in Iran right now because there are many, many different ethnic groups there. This is not one monolithic country, as those of you who are from there know. It's going to be unusual, but I think at this point that what's going on subtly in the background in terms of support for the people, there's plenty of awareness of what is going on there, and all the right people do know. And I will tell you that Reza Pahlavi has made some very, very astute comments because he's the first one to admit that when his dad was in office, SAVAK was a very, very feared organization, just like the IRGC is. And and he knows that this needs to be organic.
But I just need to, I appreciate everything you said. I do have some disagreements, so I do want to challenge something. So I think in Iran, the ethnic groups are not as big as a problem as we have in Iraq and Lebanon and Turkey and Syria. Especially the Kurds are probably the least problematic. There are some separatist groups within the Kurdish community, but they represent a small minority of the Kurds. If I had to guess, less than 5% of Kurds are separatists. the vast majority of Iranian Kurds are Iranian first and Kurdish second. In the Turkish community, or what we like to call them Azeris, that number is higher, separatists. So I think with the Turks in Iran, it might get up to like maybe even 30%. I don't know, but it's still a minority. It's a higher minority, but it's still. But the vast majority of Iranian ethnic groups are Iranian first before any, like, their ethnic identity matters to them second.
If I could respond to that, I know on social media there's a tendency to go to extremism. My comments were not about extremism.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to add, but
Yeah.
Nara was pointing out to herself, Nara, so you're Iranian, what ethnicity? Like
I'm Armenian, Iranian,
Iranian.
but
Yeah.
I consider myself Iranian, and all of my family does too, because our culture is much closer to the Persian culture, to the Iranian culture, than Armenians in Armenia. Like,
Okay.
if somebody, an Iranian Armenian in Iran, when they go to Armenia for the first time, they get a culture shock. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you
Yeah.
go. Case in point.
And-
So another point that I wanted to make is about Savak. A lot of the understanding, I think, Savak and RGC could not be any more different. Savak might have, in some instances, pushed too far, but Savak was saving Iran. And in fact, between Savak and the Shah, probably the Savak was more often correct sometimes, that the Shah was very, very kind. And sometimes because he was to the Iranian people, he couldn't understand why Savak had to do what the Savak was doing. But Savak was what was holding Iran together for a very long time. And we were dealing with the worst kinds of people, the worst kind of communist terrorists. And given the Islamic Revolution, we could see that Savak, there is, a lot of people argue, and I think probably correct, that because Muhammad Reza Shah got rid of the Savak because of all the complaints, that's what allowed the Islamic Revolution to happen. So the Islamic Revolution might have not happened if the Savak was still operating. So Savak was saving Iran. Yeah.
And Armin, I hear you loud and clear. I think that most Americans have no idea about these issues that have been going on since the Shah left for treatment of his lymphoma. There are a lot of moving pieces in Iran, and there's a
Right.
lot of mistrust, and
Right.
that is very well founded. I just know that the Iranian people are the ones who will control their fate in
Right.
this, and I'm
And,
so
and
glad
the Iranian people are right now, they are back in love with Savak, and now they're realizing, like, the Iranian people who are chanting Prince Reza Pahlavi's name would be lining up to join Savak if Savak ever came back. So that's what's also happening right now in Iran, right? Because they're understanding now, appreciating what Savak was doing for Iran. And also something about Mossadegh, we should one day talk about Mossadegh, because Mohammad Reza Shah removing Mossadegh from power was completely in line with what the constitution allowed him to do, which makes it not a coup. The coup was done by Mossadegh. The Shah stopped. The Shah did not do a coup d'etat against Mossadegh. Shah stopped Mossadegh's coup against the Shah. For a coup d'etat, the coup d'etats have two properties. One, they're illegal. Two, they're usually from the bottom up, right? So Mossadegh, based on the constitution, the Shah was above Mossadegh, and the Shah had the constitutional right to remove Mossadegh, and Mossadegh did not have the constitutional right to remove the Shah. So based on both the criteria of what a coup is, Mossadegh was doing a coup, not the Shah.
And
Yeah.
Armin, just one comment. This is being from New Jersey. I can use a Yogi Berraism, and I can say this is giving me deja vu all over again. There are a lot of different opinions, and I just foresee some very difficult days ahead, and I wish for the change to come as soon and as peaceably as possible, but it's not going to be very comfortable for most of us.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, you might be right. That's true. Anyways, I appreciate that, Gary. And again, if you like, I hope you raise your hand again, because you have a lot of interesting points. So I hope we get. But I do want to move to other people who have been waiting. But that was really interesting. Thank you for that. So, guys, I have Michael. I'm going to remove myself from the list because I want to make sure you guys are not waiting as much. I have Michael, Nail Bunny, and then Sean. If I miss anybody, raise your hand again. So, Michael.
Hi. Thank you, Armin, and how's it going, everyone? So, what's crazy? What I find really crazy is the goddamn BBC and the goddamn social media. Excuse my language, but it has to be said. These people are indirectly with the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're like, when they were covering the news of it, like today, yesterday, and the day before, they're like, oh no, people are just protesting because economy is bad, but the government has everything under control. They're giving people money. They said that they're going to give people like 1 billion toman or some shit like that per month to people. I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, that's like $6, $7. Like that's a slap in the face for the Iranian person, dude. And people think, oh, that's great. Oh, the government's taking care of them. And then the BBC was like, oh, but President Peshkian or whatever his name is trying
Peshkin.
to reconcile.
Peshkin.
Yeah, Pezeshkian
Peshkin.
was trying to reconcile with the
You could call
people
him
and all this
Peshke
shit.
if you want. That's actually fitting.
Oh, just call him Pesky. Yeah, let's call him
Okay.
Pesky. So basically, I'm like, the fuck? Like, these people are like glorifying a fucking Islamist dictatorship. I'm like, this is sick. That's why I unsubscribe to many like news media outlets, like on YouTube. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch this no more. I'm like, this is sick. Be
Yeah.
careful with the media.
No.
Fuck the media at
Yeah.
this point.
No. Okay,
Can
well,
I push back on that a bit?
go ahead, Tom.
Well,
1
yeah,
minute.
I think the BBC are actually. Well, let's just be quick. The BBC are delusional. They're not. They're not lying. They actually think that Islamic extremism doesn't exist. Islam is a religion of peace. They're actually still fucking 20, 30 years behind because they have such bad researchers. Are there some that lie? According to Tommy Robinson, yeah, someone said that he knew Tommy Robinson was a good person but lied about him. But generally speaking, it's because the BBC are actually suffering from a delusion. I strongly believe that they think Islamic extremism doesn't exist. They think Islam is a good thing.
Okay, let's go to Neil Bunny.
You are way too kind to the BBC. They're not delusional. They're funded by Qatar.
Yeah.
Are they?
They're owned by Qatar. Absolutely.
By Qatar and Tucker
100%.
Carlson.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, seriously, Qatar has so much money in the United Kingdom that
That's
they are
for me.
afraid of being taken out if they say anything. I'm serious. I absolutely do not believe that they are doing this because they're delusional or they're uninformed. But anyway, in more positive things, I just wanted to say a few things, and it's pretty much what I've been doing for the last over a week. Is I pretty much am. You've probably seen me in all of the live chats in multiple streams, and I'm there for hours. And the reason why I'm doing that is because people are going to those and they're asking questions like, what's going on? What is this? Like, they literally don't know. It's like they saw a live when they joined YouTube and went, oh, what's this? And then they just sort of jumped in. And so I have a few points that I want people to know. And I think that if everybody does this, I think that it's really important that there is a sort of a unity in what the messaging is. And I mean, one of those when I thought of it, I thought of this when somebody was talking about, I think, is it Nare? Just nod. Is that she was saying that, they didn't mention Reza Pahlavi. And I think it's really important when you see that, reply, go if it's on X, reply to them and say, it's interesting that you haven't mentioned Reza Pahlavi because I'm looking at all of these videos and everything, and that's what they're chanting. And then just make it really clear that I have my eye on you and I know you're full of crap. And I'm not the only one. I look at all of the replies. I'm not, and it's lots of people are like, you're not mentioning him. And I think that that's interesting. Those of you who know me quite well, I'm not afraid to tell somebody that I think that they're just the alliance of the red and black and can't be trusted at all. So that aside, so I'm basically in the chats, I go to the comments of videos, and then of course I'm just on X constantly. I share everything. I'm probably losing followers who didn't follow me for a reason other than this, but I don't care. I'm basically sharing everything because it was something that was on Tusi that he was saying, and it was that before when this happened before years ago, people who were out there, they didn't realize that because the internet's down or it's slow or not, nobody's out, they're out there and they don't know. They did not know that other people were out there on the streets. So they didn't know that, but in this, if they see it, if they know that all the cities across Iran have filled with people on the street, then it makes them get out there on the street. Now, yes, you can yell at them, Armin, and I'm sure that will work. But also seeing the people on the street and getting like, you know what? I'm going to get out there on the street because it's happening all over the place. So the key points that I want to make to people when I'm talking to them is, number one, it's not like Iraq. That Reza Pahlavi has a team and a plan, and it will be a democracy. Now, it could be a constitutional monarchy or a republic, but it's going to be a democracy. That is important that everyone understands that. And then I'll even tell them, look up Nufti IPP, look up those words and you'll find it. You'll Google those and you can go straight to it. You can see it, you can read it. It's right there. I compare this to the fall of the Berlin Wall. And a lot of us have noticed that. It's like this, watching people playing music and people dancing. They're dancing on the Berlin Wall. It is exactly like this. I was 19 when that happened. The kids that were dancing on the Berlin Wall, they're my age. I remember that. It was very important for me to see the Berlin Wall fall. It's why I'm so utterly anti-communism. Also, another thing that's I think is really important to get across is that this needs to happen fairly quickly. Remember when they surrounded the Blue Mosque in Hamburg and nobody got away? They got all the records. Essentially, it's sort of the same thing, except at massive scale. If you can get all those records, this is the global terror network central. This is the funder. You get all those records, and it's not just the regime falls, it all falls. This is a civilizational flip when this happens, and I believe it will happen. And I think that it's really important that people understand that. And I'm probably run out of time, but I just wanted to make another point is if you ever see anybody trying to conflate Palestine with Iran, you take them to task. Make it very clear. Those two do not belong in the same sentence. It is that if Palestine is an invention of the Red and Black Alliance, they're marching, if they're marching under the banner of that, and that alliance is what held Iran hostage for 47 years. There is nothing between those two. That Iran, these are people that are actually oppressed. And we make it very clear that it is absolutely 100% night and day. And also another thing that I think is really important, and this was already touched on, is that there are many ethnicities in Iran, but they're all Iranian first. And I think it's really important, especially when people are like, Persia, it's like, please stop saying that. And then I explain it to them. It's like, there are many ethnicities, and yet they all are Iranian. They need to understand that Iran is very different from Iraq and Syria. Completely different. They are
Yeah, but
united.
not just Iran, but even places throughout Central Asia, they confuse it with the Middle East, like Afghanistan. They're like, oh, that's the Middle East. And I'm like, the
Yeah,
fuck you're talking about?
yeah,
Like, do you even know where it's located? And they're like, oh, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, then, like, don't say anything.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so those are just the points that I think it's really important to get out there and share and counter and try and explain things to people, and don't let them say crap about the Shah. Don't let them make that stuff up. There's a guy, I was waiting for him to turn up on the stream, but you were talking to Seth Dillon instead. But if we'd been talking about Iran, I'm sure that guy would have turned up again. but he was on Goldie's stream last night and he was on Tusi's earlier today. And he basically saying crap about it. And both Goldie and Tusi luckily tore him a new one. And before even Goldie got to him, I told him off in the chat. And hours later, when she saw the super chat from him, she just went off. It was great. But, these people are out there and you need to call them on their bullshit. So,
And Neil Bunny, would you ever be interested in coming on the show and talk making these points?
sure.
Okay. Well, can you message me because I would. But by the way, I've never seen any non-Iranian understand Iran as good as Neil Bunny. Like, I think, don't you agree, Nerobors? Like, no, like I've never seen anybody understand Iran as like. I mean, among Iranians I have, but among non-Iranians I have never seen anybody.
Suddenly there were just all these new kids. And
Right.
there were these names we'd never heard before, Amir and Raisa and all, and we're just like, where are you guys from? Because it was like they had these really long last names and all this stuff. And we were
Okay.
initially quite afraid. We were afraid because we had watched the hostage crisis. They had done a count of like the number of days they were held and all of that, and we watched it and we watched on TV. These people hate us, and then all these kids turn up. It's like, do you hate us? And they're like, no, we don't hate you. And then it was just, we all kind of learned about through them what happened to their country, and I saw it through the eyes of the child who's friends with these kids that are my age, and the scary things that happened, that their family having to like get out of Iran and grab whatever they could. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been something like I think about all of them right now and I wonder where they are and what's going through their mind. I think it's probably just because of that it's been something that I've always known about for almost all my life.
Okay, so we need to move on, but that was very interesting. I gave Neil Bunny extra time because it was just too good. Sorry, but we have Shauna, and again, I'm gonna remove myself from the list because the list is long. I'm gonna put myself to the bottom of the list. Shauna, Gary, Hila, Joseph. Oh, and also Dajjal. I'm gonna ask Dajjal. Dajjal, I hope your microphone is good now. Did I miss anybody? Michael. Michael, I also add Michael to the list. All right, so let's go with Shauna.
Okay, so the Kurds, I don't.
But sorry, but Shauna, if you're not speaking, anybody who's not speaking, can you close your mic because we're hearing some background echo and ourselves. Okay, go on, Shauna.
I was just gonna say, so the Kurdish situation, the Kurds, I don't understand what the Kurds are. Totally, I'll just be honest. I just know that they're an ethnic group, and that they're heavily armed and fighters. That's basically my understanding. And I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding. So the Iranian Kurds are Iranian first, but the Turkish Kurds, would they want to like move to Iran? Or would they come and help their Iranian cousins? I mean, would that be a thing with the Turkish Kurds? I don't know.
Well, I mean, a lot of them are communists. So, I mean, on the other side of the border, not like so. Like when it comes to ideology, we have the Sunnis among them, we have Shias among them, we have communists among them, we have cessationists, which is usually the communists are the cessationist ones, many times. But those are on the other side. Our Kurds are better than their Kurds. We have patriotic Kurds. They have commie Kurds and Islamist Kurds. We have
Okay.
patriotic Kurds.
I've met one Kurdish person in passing years ago. I used to clean hotels, and there was a woman that came through. She was beautiful. She was an Iranian Kurd, though, and my experience with her was that she was very intelligent, and we had a very interesting, like, 3-hour conversation. It was my last day of work, so I didn't really care anymore, so I didn't clean her room, I just talked to her. But that's been my only experience, and then I see the Kurds on the news, and I'm like, "Okay," I'm, like, trying to the images my experience and then what I see don't match.
So my my awareness of the Kurds are more like on the Iranian side is much higher than what you have in the three other countries. So the Kurds are basically are in Iran, in Iraq, in Syria, and in Turkey, right? So these are the four countries that they are in mostly. All I know, so I know a lot about Iranian Kurds, right? But all I know about those other Kurds is that a higher percentage of them want their own country. Okay. I don't know much more about them than
Okay.
that. I also know they have more terrorists, they have more, radical movements.
Do they have a group identity? Like some how do I explain? Sometimes ethnic groups don't have a unified ethnic identity and some
So
types they do.
the ones who are trying to promote a separate Kurdistan's nation state are trying to argue that yes, we do, right? But the ones who don't believe in that, so let me actually give you an example of Iranian Kurds that demonstrates like at least what the situation is in Iran. There was a video of, I don't remember, it was three or four. I think there were four Iranian Kurdish women, and they were posting a video on social media to show how important the Persian language is. All four of them were Kurdish, and they were speaking Kurdish, and they couldn't understand each other. They were saying like, I don't understand her her Kurdish. Like they were speaking different, I don't know, version of dialects of Kurdish,
Oh,
and they
that's
were all four of them are saying that we don't understand. The only way we could communicate with each other is by speaking Persian, because none of us understands the other person's Kurdish. Like they
in
were laughing because she was speaking and like, I have no idea what you're saying. Like she was telling her in
interesting.
Persian. Yeah.
So and that's and
Right.
those are just the ones in Iran, not the ones that
Yeah.
doesn't include
They were making that video to show how important their Iranian identity is, how important the Persian language is to connect them together.
yeah. That kind of reminds me of like French. French has so many different dialects these days. Granted, it's because of colonization of the French, but they can't really understand. The Cajuns in America, Louisiana French, cannot understand mainland French, and mainland French don't have a fucking idea what the Cajuns are saying. They have no fucking idea. So,
The same thing
yeah.
with the Quebecois too.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right.
So, okay, thank you. That gives me at least
Yep.
some information. So,
The small percentage of Kurdish Iranians who are separatists, which doesn't represent the rest of Kurdish,
right.
through their activism or terrorism is more accurately described, they have been killing each other more than they have been killing anyone else.
Okay,
Right?
interesting.
So among Kurdish separatists in Iran, there are different groups. They're not
'Cause they're
all like one group.
separatists. They want different forms of separatism, I'm guessing?
They believe in different leadership, a different structure. I don't know. They have their
Yeah,
disagreements.
okay.
Right? There's a lot. It's very complicated.
So it's like
See,
a civil war in between this
yes,
tiny
yeah,
minority.
and
Okay.
they kill each other more than anything else. They shoot each other more than they shoot at anyone else.
Okay. That kinda reminds me
Yeah.
they sound like Chechens is what I'm thinking about. That's fair. A lot of
Yeah.
Chechens are Islamic communists, but they all fight with each other all the time, and then they
Yeah.
only unify to terrorize other people occasionally.
Oh,
Yeah.
one other point against cessationism: if Kurdish people ever manage to get even close to having their own country, they would be fighting Turks as well. Because if you look at like this, the
Yeah,
Turkish
they hate
secessionists,
Turks. They hate Turks.
no, but the like the Turkish like the Kurdish secessionists in
Rightfully
Iran,
so.
if you look at the areas, that they want as part of Kurdistan, there's a lot of overlap over the parts that the Turks want as their
It's because
own
Turkey fucked them
Azerbaijan.
over.
So,
Well,
like,
and that
so they're
whole
gonna have to be fighting each other over whether
I
this is
mean,
Azerbaijan or Kurdistan. Yeah.
it's just gonna be the year 500 all over again. I mean, it's that the Anatolia has never ceased to stop being fought over. I think it'll stop being fought over when the Messiah comes, like, honestly, to make a
Right.
point. Okay,
So I have Gary, Hila, Joseph, Dijal, Michael, Elad, and then me. Gary, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me now? So now that I'm retired, one of the things I do is I am a docent at a Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies. The area of expertise I have is in the Armenian genocide back in the 19 teens and 20s in Turkey. So most people have no awareness of the Armenian genocide or Kurdish genocide or Azeri genocide. There have been so many mass killings in this very tight geography over the past 1600 years. It boggles the mind. And that is why there is so much uncertainty about how all of this is going to play out. I will just going back to Venezuela just for a moment. I would urge everybody to become more familiar with something within the US Department of Treasury, and it is called Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And FinCEN is an organization that obtains data from countries whenever there's been some type of interdiction that's gone on. So in Venezuela, for instance, not only did they bring out the president and his wife, but they also brought out a few computers and things like that. These allow for the tracking of all the monies that have gone on between Caracas and Beirut and Istanbul and Qatar and elsewhere. All of this together, when you follow all this money and when you look at all these different ethnic groups, there's a lot of intermingling of a lot of different factors. And this is why I just urge everybody to stay aware. Armin, we really appreciate you sharing the information that you have coming out of Iran. There's a lot that's going on right now that people just may not be fully aware of. I would urge you to become familiar with US FinCEN at the Department of Treasury. When you look at the activities that they're doing, this knits together what's going on in Venezuela, as well as what is transpiring in Iran, as well as Syria and a few other places. They're following the money, they're seeing the connections, and a lot will be unfolding gradually. Thank you so much. And Nail Bunny, I don't know if you ever spent time in Iran, but I really appreciate hearing your words.
Yes, we all do. I think people want her as prime minister in the chat here all the time. They keep saying Neil Bunny for prime minister. Thank you, Gary. So let's go to Gary. If you would you mind, like, because there might be some echo, so when you're done, if you could open and close your mic as well. All right, thank you so much for that. And then let's go to Hila. Hila, hi.
Hello, hi. I will try to be fast. First of all, our Ministry of Office, I don't know, outside relationship, they trolled in Farsi, and they said, this is the dollar, the people, you give Hezbollah $1,500 a month for salaries. And they were talking about it in the news.
They were talking about the money that the government promised to the people, which
About
is
us
basically not.
joking about it.
So for
yeah.
people who don't know, the government, the Iranian government just came out and said like, hey, people, we're like going to give you monthly some money. So everything is going to be okay. And I think it's like, I don't know how much, $4 a month or
It's like
something like
$7
that.
a
Yes.
month, but they pay Hezbollah official. They transfer money to terrorists and they give them 1,500 a month.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
thanks
Fantastic.
for nothing. And I don't remember who said it, but we had a thing. We called it Rivi virus. Rivi is the
Musad
girl.
in the chat. Musad in the chat just said we pay 7,000. So 7. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That was
We're
good.
back with
Okay,
the
we're going.
shekels. So we do this thing. We do like we're trying to. We call it Rivi. It's a girl name. We call it Rivi virus. It's when one girl trying to be bot, like virus bot, and we have a group in WhatsApp, and we're not a lot of people. And every morning, someone is reading something they didn't mentioned in a lot in the media, and then once we get it in the morning, we all go to this link and we say whatever we need to say, and it amplifies our voices over the other talkbacks because we reply to each other and we amplify it. It's more efficient this way. Every day, just focus on something as a small group of friends. It's more helpful. And also, it's very hard to convince people that they are totally wrong. So you can have like this immediate reaction that you sent, that you already have, and you copy paste it to this thing that you want to say to the other side of the spectrum. But it's much more easier to find your own people, and whatever they are on the spectrum, just move them a bit closer to you. Okay? For example, if I'm an activist, so I'm on this side of the spectrum, I want to take people that think like me, but they don't have the power to move, to do one more thing in their day. You know? Something that will not waste a lot of energy for them. So, for example, if there's something that they do, they play soccer. So, yeah, mention it in your soccer play today or something, you know, just like amplify that it doesn't have to be costly in energy to do something, just us speaking about it or whatever. If yesterday I was with a lot of friends, instead of talking too much about my own opinions and what I think other people should do with my own opinions, I just took one guy of these guys and we made a video for a Persian in Persian supporting. But then everybody looked at us and it opened a discussion. Okay? Because people wanted to talk about it. They were interesting. What are we doing?
Okay, last
Instead
one.
of it
That's
will be
okay.
more easy.
By the way, I really appreciate you doing that. That's pretty incredible. I understand what you're saying because that's actually what Prince Reza Pahlavi's Eternal Guardians booklet is suggesting on how to organize small little groups of 3 or 5 to start small and then eventually work on that and expand. So I think I understand what you're saying. All right, so let's go to I have the list I have is Joseph, Dajjal, Michael, Elad, and then me. If I missed anybody, please raise your hand again. Joseph.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes. we do.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to be honest with you. I just before I came on, I was on Facebook, and I was just scrolling through and Geller reported that I didn't even know what was going on in Iran, and they're going day 10. Iran erupts, nationwide protests reach 28 provinces. I remember the revolution because I was in like this. Saw it building up. I was in like the 6th grade when we started seeing a lot of Iranian immigrants coming to the United States. And I knew a couple of kids that were in my class. And I was at that time, I was living just outside of Seattle, Washington. That's just shows you how far they kind of spread across the United States. And to me, what seeing this now is it's absolutely mind blowing from my viewpoint, because I was like 23, 24 when the Berlin Wall fell. And if we're seeing something similar happening in Iran, it's going to be a good thing. As a matter of fact, when the Berlin Wall fell, I was 2 blocks away from the wall. I was in Germany for business. Actually, I should say I was in West Berlin for business. Talk about a phrase I haven't had to say in a very long time. But if this plays out the same way, we can finally start seeing, because it's kind of the open secret that Iran, or at least I should say the government of Iran, has been funding. They've been funding so many different, basically terrorist groups are their proxy army, and to hopefully see an end to that is going to be a good thing. It's also going to be a good thing for the Ukraine, because all of a sudden we're going to see Russia get cut off from their drone manufacture, from the Iranian drone manufacturing. This doesn't cut it. You know, some people think of it as the effect there in Iran, but there has been so much going on that just something as simple as Iran all of a sudden say, "Hey," telling Russia, "Hey, we're not going to supply you drones anymore." That's going to bring it's going to bring more peace to the Eurasian continent. This is, it's not so much of this is tied together in such weird ways. Because I've been following stuff for the Ukraine, what's been going on in the Ukrainian war, who's getting what from who. And to be honest about it, this is destabilizing not just, Iran's getting destabilized, their government's being destabilized. We've just seen what's happening with Venezuela. Similar thing. This was to shut oil off to Russia. but the inner tide and how it's the number of dominoes, I think a lot of people don't see falling because they get kind of hyper focused on one little part of it. I'm looking at this and I'm like going, ooh, Putin's screwed. Beijing is screwed because this isn't, it's I think they were referring to, we kind of referred to it over here as the axis of evil. And I think a lot of things are starting to happen, are starting to roll in a way that most people aren't seeing the full picture. Like I said, I see Iran, if Iran goes more secular, the Crown Prince and if the Crown Prince takes the government back, yeah, you're going to see a shift back more US centric, and Putin's out.
Last point.
Weapon. I was just gonna say it's a lot more. I think there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's interconnected to all this, and the effects aren't just going to be there in the Middle East. This is a lot more global than people realize.
Awesome. All right, the gel.
Yeah, basically what Joseph just said. I think if the regime falls, everything changes. Everything. Nobody said the same thing. It's if the Islamic Republic goes, the whole game changes, the world changes. I don't think people are even ready for what's going to happen if that goes down, because it's just going to be a complete shift in the world order, and you're going to have a lot of people panicking about what's going on. They're not going to know how to take it, because Iran is the number one funder of terrorism in the world. Period. You get the Islamic Republic, that is, and if you get rid of that, then it's just. I don't think even we realize how big of a shift it's going to be, and a lot of people are going to be happy. A lot of people are also going to be pissed off, because it's going to change the entire paradigm. All the anti-Israel people, they ain't going to know what to say, because one of their biggest arguments is that Israel's trying to get us into a war with Iran. And, it's going to be a forever war, 20 years, all that shit. And when the regime falls and none of that happens, all that goes away. And it's going to upend all their arguments. It really is.
Very wishful thinking.
What's that?
No.
But yeah, well, it's going to upend. I mean, it's not going to stop people from hating Jews or hating Israel, but people aren't going to be as enamored by it, because their biggest argument is going to fade away when it's all said and done. So they're going to have a much harder time convincing people they're going to have to shift to something else, and just
last point.
Try to grift in a different way. Well, that's it. I'll say more later, but I'll just put me on the list for later on.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's go to Michael.
How's it going?
No worries.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I kind of agree with someone. I think someone said earlier that this might be a domino effect, in a sense of like it might affect Putin. If I'm being completely honest, if the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei falls, Putin's destined to also go along with him too this year of 2026, I feel, because this is going according to plan for US preparing war against China. So I feel like if the US can weaken Putin heavily, and if the Russian people are watching what's happening in Iran, these people will get the ideas. They'll get the idea of like, oh, maybe we should be like the Iranians, where they just riot against the government and take over the police stations and take hold of cities. I feel like this will encourage them. So, Putin is destined to fail. And once that happens, I really hope that Russia gets a little bit more leaned towards the West. And hopefully we could have military bases near the border with Russia and China. That would be a huge L, in my opinion.
I've seen a lot of analysis that suggests that America is just going to allow Russia take over Ukraine and some other countries in Eastern Europe.
If that would have happened, I feel like Trump would have already told Ukraine or Zelensky, hey, stop fighting. We're going to have a peace deal with Russia.
The idea is that Europe by itself is not going to be able to defend Ukraine or some other countries in Eastern Europe. And America is going to stop directly helping Ukraine, but they're more than willing to sell Europe weapons so that they can defend themselves. America is not going to stop selling them weapons, but America is going to be less involved in defending Eastern Europe and it's going to focus more on China. And the analysis is that Europe is not going to be able to stop Russia from going to take over all of Ukraine. I mean, it's going to take a long time, but eventually it will happen. That's what some people say the analysis is right now.
Well, I feel like Trump, because right now, as far as I see on the news, he's just not happy with Putin, supposedly. Trump is supposedly not happy that Putin didn't accept the peace deal that he had proposed. You want to know why I feel like Putin didn't agree, though, or didn't come to terms with the peace agreement? I feel like
Putin cannot end the war. If he ends the war, the entire economy will collapse. People will come home, and there's going to be this is a war
it's going to look
economy
bad for
right
him,
now.
for his regime.
They
They're
either
gonna be
have
like,
to
"What?"
continue or they cannot afford to just end the war without winning.
I feel
This
like
is a
also
wartime economy.
if he also ended the war, he was still going to invade Ukraine anyway. Because some people
Yeah,
are like,
it's just going to be buying time for recovery. They're never going to stop.
some people are like, oh, maybe if we pay attention and do what Putin asks us and have NATO not expand into Eastern Europe, that's a game of chess. It's trickery right there.
NATO doesn't expand because NATO is deciding to expand. NATO is expanding because countries that Russia is trying to invade are trying to join NATO. That's how NATO expands. NATO is not going looking for members. Countries are looking to become NATO members because they're trying to protect themselves from Russia.
Russia's a big hypocrite because they can say that they're not going to supposedly invade them again, but they will, obviously. That's just a fact. Russia is still going to do it anyway. Even you tell them not to, they don't care.
All of Europe is prepared. Right now, all analysts in Europe have come to the belief that at some point there's going to be a big war. European countries are preparing for a major war with Russia at some point. All of Europe is preparing for that. And they're panicking because they thought America would be there to protect them. And America is like, you're on your own. We're focusing on China. Right. So let's go to Elad.
So I wanted to respond to a lot of things, but I will choose three stuff. So first of all, if we're staying on the topic of Russia, we have to always take under consideration the needs of Russia. So for Russia, losing the Ukraine is suicide. It's where they get most of their grains and actually most of their agriculture. If you look at the topography of Russia, most of it is not very good for agriculture. So they need the Ukraine. The Ukraine is actually a very significant region for food. And so they can't give it up. They just can't. And expansion to the Ukraine for NATO is too much of a threat to Russia. It's always going to be too much of a threat to Russia. I wish, we lived in a world where they could just talk it out and get to the point where they just, have business, right? But we're not there. And I think the West has a lot to answer for that. It's not just Putin. It's not just him. It's definitely is him, but it's not just him. My second thing was about the Kurdish people. So one of the things that people don't really talk about is how the Kurdish people are actually Aryan. So they're of Irani heritage. So the Kurdistan, the region we call Kurdistan, is actually a mountainous region that separates today Iran, Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. And really what we see is that in Iran, they're actually more connected to their origin because they're Aryan, but in other regions, they're not. They're occupied, and so they're kind of lost. And also, Kurdish people are not a consecutive community. It's like many communities that lived across the mountains, sort of like how Native Americans were interconnected, but also not really the same. So that's something that we need to remember. I don't know where we stand with that. I mean, right now, all our focus should be on Iran. In the future, I think maybe if things go the right way, they could actually become a bridge between the different nations instead of a border. Thank you.
Anything that does not involve independent Kurdistan nation state, I will support. Thank you. Shana is on the. I'm going to add Shana to the list. So Ian, my list is Ian, Daniel, Armin, Shana. Oh, Michael.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Forgive the accent. I was listening to what a
Hey,
few.
wait a second. We love the accent. What do you,
I'll just give
don't
you a
say that.
second to adjust. You need a little
No, we
adjustment.
love the accent.
Yeah,
Like,
you
no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What are you talking about? Don't ever say that again.
Why is it that English people just say what whenever I talk? English.
No, I understand you. I understand you.
We understand.
Scottish.
Please
Scottish.
keep the accent. Yeah,
Right?
keep the accent.
Aye,
Yeah.
I am Scottish.
Yeah, I have Scottish blood. I'm a McLachlan. I'm a McLachlan,
Mum-
like Victor McLachlan, the actor who won an Oscar. Yeah.
I have
Alright.
Scottish. I have Scottish blood too. My ancestors were borderlanders.
My
Ah, nice.
favorite part in Europe.
My mum's from Kent, so I'm half English myself. But I didn't get half of the accent. What you were saying about this huge change that's going on in global powers just now, especially Gary there, when he was talking about where the money goes, they were taking out the computer systems. And it made me think about where the money laundering and the old business model of laundering money has changed. Like on those computers, there could have been £1 trillion. It would be in the size, it'd be on a terabyte. So yeah, well, who knows what the Americans got, as well as a giant ship and the contents of oil and Maduro. Jason J. Smart, who works for the Kiev Post, I think, his video today was all tying Iran, a bit of the history of the area, and tying it back to Russia, and it was very informative. So anybody I really love Jason J. Smart. He's been on the money throughout the Russia conflict, which the Russia conflict has all my anxiety. Like I'm very interested in how it all ties together, but my anxiety just goes to my closest existential threat, and that was my point.
Why does it get to that? What does it give you that much anxiety?
Well, I've grown up in a peaceful time. Well, in terms of distance, anyway, like it's been peaceful to me, and now all of a sudden it's like chaos has erupted. And maybe it's technology, the internet, the information. We don't get sound bites and headlines anymore. We get the truth. I think the truth's out there like it never was. And yeah, it's a bit alarming.